Hi folks, HR Funk here with a brand new firearms review video on a pistol that I first revealed to you in a recent midweek update. This is my brand new Springfield Armory Hellcat 9mm micro compact pistol, and I've been interested in the Hellcat ever since Springfield Armory first announced them back during the middle of 2019. And the one that I really wanted to get was the OSP version that's set up for the micro red dot optic, but those have been extremely difficult to find in my area, and the standard version, like I have here, have not been a whole lot easier to find. Which is why when this one appeared recently at one of my local firearms retailers, I went ahead and picked it up for this review, and I'm extremely excited about this because if the pistol performs well, I'm intending for it to become my brand new deep concealment semi-automatic carry pistol. And during the course of this video, I also want to talk about the pistol that it's replacing, which is my Smith & Wesson Shield, and also I want to discuss why I selected this particular pistol as opposed to some of the competitive options that are on the market currently. Now, a question that I got from several of you after that midweek update where I revealed the Hellcat was why I selected the Hellcat as opposed to the SIG 365, and there are actually several reasons for that. First is some outstanding customer service that I got from Springfield Armory recently when I had a problem with one of their M1A rifles. I also told this story during a midweek update, but to abbreviate it here, I had a problem with the rifle where a part broke, and it's an older rifle and I'm not the original owner of that rifle. Still, I contacted Springfield Armory and they had me send the rifle back, and they repaired it and essentially built me a brand new rifle and returned it to me for no charge whatsoever. I thought that was outstanding customer service, and I thought that deserved some reciprocation in terms of my next handgun purchase. Also, the Hellcat one-ups the capacity of the 365 by 1 round, and I just generally like the styling of the Hellcat a little bit better than I like the 365. So all that to say, this was my selection for a new micro compact 9mm pistol. Now let's take a closer look at the features of the Springfield Armory Hellcat. When you first receive your Hellcat, it comes in a cardboard box which contains this nice nylon zippered case. Inside the zippered case, you find the pistol itself, which comes with both the 11-round magazine and the 13-round magazine. Inside of the box, along with the manual and the usual warranty paperwork and other propaganda that comes from manufacturers, is also a flush fit magazine base plate for the 11-round magazine. Now, as you can see, I have the finger rest base plate installed because I prefer that, but if you would rather have the shorter flush fit base plate, that is inside the box and can be installed very easily. Focusing on the pistol itself, as I said before, Springfield Armory does consider the Hellcat to be a 9mm micro compact pistol as opposed to a subcompact. It is manufactured in Croatia, as you see on the frame here. The Hellcat has an 11-round magazine, as I mentioned, as well as a slightly longer 13-round magazine. And you can see that that does add a little bit of length to the grip. The magazines themselves appear to be very high quality. They do have numbered witness holes on the back, so you can tell exactly how many rounds you have loaded in the magazine. The magazine catch for the Hellcat is reversible. And if you're familiar with reversing the magazine catch on a Glock, it is a very similar process to reverse the magazine catch on the Hellcat. The Hellcat is a striker-fired, polymer frame, recoil-operated pistol. The barrel is cold hammer-forged steel, and both the barrel and slide are finished in melanite for rust and corrosion resistance. The sights on the Hellcat are a little different than you typically see on this type of a pistol. As you notice, the rear sight has a deep U-shaped notch, and the front sight has a large fluorescent dot, and in the very center of that front sight is a tritium insert. So you have very high visibility in most any lighting condition with the Hellcat. And the more I look at these sights, the more I like them, especially that big front sight that should be very easy to pick up, even under stress. I think I'm going to like that quite a bit when we get out to the range. The Hellcat has a loaded chamber indicator here at the very rear of the barrel. And when there's a round loaded into the chamber, you can see that by looking down through there. You see basically the rim of that loaded round. The Hellcat has a 3-inch barrel, an overall length of 6 inches, a height, depending on which magazine and which magazine base plate is used, between 4 inches and 4.5 inches, with the 13 round magazine accounting for the 4.5 inch length, and the flush mounted 11 round magazine counting for the 4-inch length. Now, one thing I'm not sure about, and I'm going to find out here momentarily, is exactly what our length becomes with the finger extension base plate added to the 11 round magazine. And with that finger extension base plate installed, we're just over 4.5 inches to the top of the slide. And we can probably add another 1/4 of an inch if we're measuring to the top of the rear sight. And I just measured the length of the grip with the 13 round magazine installed, and it's also just over 4.5 inches. So with the finger extension base plate on the 11 round magazine, it is essentially the exact same length for the grip as when the 13 round magazine is installed. So it's about 4.5 inches or just a little over that. The thickness of the slide on the Hellcat is coming in right at 0.8 inches. And if we open this up to include the slide stop, we're at just over an inch, about 1.053 inches. And if we measure the thickness of the grip, we're again just over an inch, 1.012 inches for the grip thickness. One of the things Springfield Armory spent a lot of time on with the Hellcat is the frame. And you notice the texture of the frame, and they call this their adaptive grip texture, and it feels very good. It feels like it gives you a good grip on the pistol. And with a small 9mm pistol like this, I suspect recoil is going to be a little bit snappy. So a good grip is going to be important. We also have a surface right here for your thumb's forward grip, or for your trigger finger to rest if you are not shooting on this side of the frame. So I like that. We also notice on both sides there is a guard for the magazine release to help prevent that from being inadvertently pushed and releasing your magazine when you don't want it released. The Hellcat has a straight trigger with a drop safety similar to that found on other pistols. And I wasn't entirely sure I was going to like that, but I really like the feel of that trigger and the way it breaks. So I'm looking forward to shooting that and seeing just how it's going to do during live fire. Disassembly for the Hellcat is very straightforward. As always, first check to ensure the pistol is unloaded, after which I'm going to rotate the takedown lever 90 degrees upward. Now I'm going to release the slide, and as it comes forward, press the trigger and take the slide forward off the frame. Here you can see the dual recoil spring employed by the Hellcat. And I just lost one of my lights. There is the 3-inch barrel. And something that I noticed with this pistol is the polishing on the feed ramp, which should very much facilitate positive feeding when I'm shooting the pistol. And there is a matching polished surface on the locking block inside the slide. So between those two, I think we should see very good feeding from the magazine when we get out to the range. For reassembly, simply drop the barrel back inside, replace our recoil system, return the slide to its proper place, locking it up once again with the slide stop, rotate the takedown lever forward, and the pistol is back together and ready to use once more. At the front of the recoil spring guide, we see what Springfield calls its standoff device, presumably so that if you have the pistol pressed up for a contact shot, it doesn't push the slide out of battery and disable the pistol. I've been suspicious of that ever since I first heard it, because when you look there, you notice it really doesn't protrude past the muzzle of the barrel. My suspicion has always been that's just the way the recoil spring system ended up looking, and maybe somebody thought that it looked a little strange, so they had to come up with a reason why it looked that way, so they decided to call it a standoff device. I suppose if it works, that's fine, but that's one part of the design, as I said, I've always been a little skeptical of, at least as far as the story of why it's there and what its purpose is. And we've reached the point in the video where I'm going to start to do some comparison between the Hellcat and the pistol that's going to be replacing in my carry rotation, that being my Smith & Wesson Shield. Now there are several videos out there already comparing the Hellcat to the SIG 365, but I've not yet seen one comparing it to the Shield. So this is going to be my take on the comparison, because as I said, this is the pistol that I've been carrying for several years, and the Hellcat is going to be replacing it. When we look at them side by side there, we can see there's not a great deal of difference in the size, but right off the bat, the Hellcat has the advantage in terms of capacity, with both an 11-round and a 13-round magazine, as opposed to the Shield's 7-round and 8-round magazines. And I'm going to put the magazines in place in just a second, and we'll take a look at the dimensions of the two pistols. And I've lined the two pistols up as best I can. We can see the Hellcat is just slightly shorter than the Shield in terms of overall length. Also, with the finger extension base plate attached to the 11-round magazine, it is just slightly taller than the Shield, and the grip width is slightly greater than that of the Shield. But for those slight increases in the dimensions of length and thickness of the grip, we get over a 50% ammunition capacity advantage on the part of the Hellcat. Also, you'll notice that the Hellcat has an equipment rail. Now this is a 1.0 Shield, which is one of the originals, so it doesn't have that particular feature either. From this angle, we can once again see that slightly greater grip size of the Hellcat in terms of thickness as opposed to the Shield. And at this point, I've switched over to the 8-round magazine for the Shield and the 13-round magazine for the Hellcat. And we can see with the greater capacity magazines installed, the Hellcat is actually about 3/8 of an inch shorter in overall height as compared to the Shield. So let's see how the triggers compare on our two pistols. First up is the Shield. Breaking at 6 pounds, 4.9 ounces. And next up is the Hellcat. £6, 3.6 ounces. So very comparable in terms of pull weight for both pistols. Subjectively, the Hellcat has a very nice break going from the fully forward position. There is some take up, little bit of mushiness, but then a pretty nice break actually. Comparing that to the M&P, the M&P is a little less mushy. It comes to more of a definite stop, and then when you press past that, you get a good break. So I would say subjectively, the M&P, or the Shield rather, has a little bit better quality trigger pull than the Hellcat. But the Hellcat is really not bad either. Next up, we can compare the weight of our two pistols. First up is the Shield. And with the magazine removed, the Shield is weighing in at just slightly over 1 pound, just over 16 ounces for the Shield. And the Hellcat, taking its place on the official Cabela's scale, is just slightly less than 1 pound, just less than 16 ounces. So very, very close in terms of unloaded weight between the two pistols. But now let's load up the magazines and weigh them fully loaded and see what the difference looks like. Once again, the Shield is up first. I have the fully loaded 7-round magazine installed and 1 round in the chamber, and it's weighing almost exactly 1.5 pounds, so coming in right at 24 ounces fully loaded with the 7-round magazine in the Shield. And interestingly, with the Hellcat fully loaded with the 11-round magazine and 1 round in the chamber, it's coming in at almost exactly the same weight as the M&P with the 7-round magazine installed. So apparently the weight of the magazines themselves is slightly less in the Hellcat than with the M&P Shield. And the Shield is now back on the scale with the 8-round magazine in place, and not surprisingly, it's weighing just slightly more than it did before. It's just a little beyond the 1.5 pound mark. So now we'll compare that to the 13-round magazine loaded up in the Hellcat. And with the 13-round magazine installed in the Hellcat, it's coming in at almost exactly the same weight as the Shield did with the 8-round magazine installed. So again, I believe the magazines themselves in the Shield must be a little bit heavier, because at this point there are 5 additional rounds in this pistol as opposed to the Shield when it was on the scale, and they're weighing almost the exact same amount. And as long as we're talking about magazines, I did see a review on another channel where the gentleman had the 11-round magazine fully loaded, and when he did so, there was an issue with the base plate pushing off the bottom of the magazine. Apparently the compressed spring with the fully loaded magazine was pushing down on the base plate, and it was coming off, and mine does not appear to have that same issue. I'm pushing forward on it pretty substantially, and it's not coming off of there. So that was apparently an issue with the pistol he had, but it does not seem to be one that's shared by other Hellcats. So there's the up-close look at the Hellcat. Now let's head off to the range and see how it performs. And as you can see, I've arrived on the range with the Hellcat to put it through its paces and see how it's going to perform. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to start to fire the Hellcat through a series of drills that are intended to test its accuracy, reliability, and also its handling characteristics. And I'll let you know what I think of all of those qualities as I go. And while I'm at it, I'm going to try to have a little bit of fun. And first up is a simple slow fire accuracy test. I'm going to be firing the Hellcat a little bit closer than I typically do in this particular test. Normally I fire this from 30 feet, but because of the short sight radius of the Hellcat, I'm going to move up and fire this drill from 20 feet. So let's see how it does. And I realized when I walked back up to the camera just now that I had it on a slow motion setting, which really bothers me. I hope I can speed it up when I do the editing for this video, because there are 11 rounds from the Hellcat. Those are the first 11 rounds I've ever fired through it, and all but one, 10 of the 11, are forming one large hole. One shot made it just out. That is outstanding accuracy from any pistol, but especially one with a sight radius like that. Now again, that was from a distance of 20 feet, but still, that is outstanding accuracy. The trigger is something that it took me a few shots to get used to, because it's firing very quickly as I start to apply pressure. The trigger feels lighter than it actually weighed when I use my trigger pull scale. So the trigger is outstanding, the accuracy is outstanding. Now I'm getting excited to move on to the next drills and try some different things with the Hellcat. And it's on to some 20-foot failure drills, folks. From here I'm going to fire 2 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head in rapid succession. Let's see how the Hellcat does in this drill. And the failure drill is not looking bad with the Hellcat. One thing I'm noticing is I really have to keep pressure on with this non-shooting hand, or with the thumb of my non-shooting hand, to make sure my shots don't start to push off to the left. The head shots are all looking good there. That one's a little bit high, but it's still inside of that brain outline. So shooting at that tempo with, once again, such a small concealable pistol, I'm not seeing anything that's concerning me at all with those failure drills from 20 feet. Folks, in case you missed it, the first time that I fired the Hellcat with the accuracy drill from 20 feet, I had the 11 round magazine loaded up 11 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. This time when I did the failure drill, I started out with the 13 round magazine loaded 13 with 1 in the chamber. And so far the functioning has been flawless. This time I'm again going to be using the 13 round magazine, and I'm going to fire a multiple adversary drill. And in this drill, I'm going to fire 1 shot at the target on the right, 3 shots to target on the left, and then 2 more shots to target on the right, all in rapid succession. And with the way the Hellcat is shooting so far, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And here are the results of that multiple adversary drill. I've got 3 good shots to target on the right and 3 good shots to target on the left. And I've got to tell you that big, bright, high visibility front sight is really making this easy. I'm just bringing the pistol up, picking that up, superimposing it on the target and pressing the trigger. And it is easy to keep these shots going right where I want them to go. And we've arrived at the point in the video where it's time to find out if the Hellcat is a 20-foot tack driver. I have 3 rounds loaded into the pistol. I'm set up at a distance of 20 feet, so let's find out. Yes, on the first shot from 20 feet, the Hellcat is a tack driver. Up until this point in the test, the ammunition that I've been running through the Hellcat has been Blazer Brass 115 grain full metal jacket ammo. So now it's time to test it out with some defensive ammunition. What I have here is 124 grain Winchester Ranger SXT ammo, and I'm going to run a full magazine through the Hellcat, beginning with 1 round in the chamber and a fully loaded 13-round magazine, just to test the functioning of this ammo in the pistol. I'm going to be firing from a distance of 20 feet, just a series of double taps and triple taps to see how this ammunition is going to run in the Hellcat. And I would say it ran that defensive ammunition just fine. I wasn't planning on trying the Hellcat from any kind of distance. As I said at the beginning of the video, with the short sight radius, I was not expecting really any kind of long-range performance from it. But after what I saw with that tack shot, I'm interested in stretching its legs a little bit. So I'm going to try it out at a distance of 25 yards and see how it does from here. And from that distance of 25 yards, all those shots stayed in the chest area of our Q target here. In fact, they're all in the lungs area. So very good accuracy again from this diminutive pistol, even from that extended distance. Folks, I am extremely impressed with the Hellcat. This little pistol is a shooter. At this point, I've run over 50 rounds through it of both defensive ammunition and ball ammunition, and it's run flawlessly. The accuracy is outstanding, again, for a pistol with such a short sight radius. The only really negative thing I can say about it is the recoil is kind of snappy and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's not uncontrollable by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I did pick up a few of the rounds that I've fired to show these to you. I know there's a lot of concern about primer drag with these small pistols, and I know that was an issue with the SIG 365, and you'll see that primer drag is present on all of these casings that I'm going to show you here. I've got 4 of them, and it is very definitely there. See if I can focus that a little better on each and every one of them. But it's not hurting the functioning at all of the pistol, and I'm not aware of any issues with breakage of the strikers on the Hellcat pistols. So the fact that it's there really doesn't concern me too much. If I do have an issue with it, I'll let you know. But in any case, that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you leave those for me. Remember, if you order anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off anything you order from Optics Planet. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.